The first season of Sword Art Online. For me and millions of other people like me, Sword Art Online essentially acted as a gateway into anime. Like, I had grown up, as I'm sure a lot of people had grown up, knowing, like, what anime was. I was a big Dragon Ball Z fan when I was growing up. So, when I was in college, a friend of mine was like, hey, like, you need to check out this show. He was like, oh, like, he gave me the premise of it. And, like, I hadn't seen anime since, like the end of Dragon Ball Z. It had been a while. I had nothing against anime. I had friends who watched it growing up when I was in high school. I just never really got into it. So, I put them off forever. I was like, oh, yeah, man, I'll totally check it out. And I knew that, like, friends of mine when I was in high school were watching things like Naruto and Bleach and stuff like that, the big three. So, he was like, oh, you gotta try it. So, I was like, okay, fine. I was in college. I was like, I put it off for so long. I was like, yeah, like, I'd totally watch it. And obviously, he linked me sites that were on the 7 Seas, not Crunchyroll. And I kept telling him, like, yeah, man, like, I totally watched it. And my ass will literally just read the synopsis of the episode. I was like, yeah, man, this happened. Because I'm one of those people, like, I put off stuff, and it's like, it's really hard for me. I really don't like getting in the new stuff. Like, I mean, I do, like, I try out new things all the time now, but at the time, like, I really, like, I liked what I like, and, like, the stuff that I did like a lot, like, in games and shows, it's just stuff I kind of found on my own. But finally, he knew I was bullshitting, and so he was like, all right, man, like, come over, and we're going to watch it. And I was like, okay, because him and I play games a lot, and he knew that I play games a lot. And so he had, like, a good understanding of what kind of taste that, like, I was into. So I ended up going over there, and, like, he started me off from episode 1. We got a Crunchyroll, got it the right way. We signed up for, you know, the 30-day free trial, typical thing. And I was like, okay, like, I'd never heard of Crunchyroll or anything like that. I knew vaguely what Funimation was, but not really. I remember we watched the first episode, and I was hooked. It was like discovering video games, or it was like discovering film, or it was discovering a new medium, like, for the first time. And it's indescribable to kind of have that feeling, like, the first time, like, you get hooked to, like, it doesn't have to be Sword Art Online, but, like, that gateway that brought you into it, no matter what it was for a lot of people, whether it be, hey, you discovered Naruto for the first time, or what, like, one of the major shonen, like, Bleach, One Piece, Fairy Tail back in its early heydays, like, that anime that just sucks you in, or Hunter x Hunter. And for this one, it was like I discovered a medium for the first time. Like, I was hooked as shit. Like, I could not take my eyes off the screen. Watched the whole first season without basically even stopping. Like, it's just, I was like, oh my god, like, just A1 did such a great job with the animation. It's just like, this is the first time I was seeing anime, really. And it's like, this first season of Sword Art Online was such a good hit-off point, especially the first half, because it had everything you kind of want out of a series. It had action, had a solid premise, interesting characters, romance, like, it had everything. And I was just absolutely hooked. And we ended up, as soon as the first season, remember that massive cliffhanger it leads you off on in episode 12 where Kirito's, like, walking out into the hallway. And I'm just like, what the shit? Like, I was like, what about Austin? I was just going to be so mad if Austin had died, because I hate that shit. I don't like bad endings. I never have. I don't, and it's like, I slightly accept, you know, like, bittersweet endings, but it's just like, I hate the shit where it's like, oh, like, the heroine dies or the hero dies, and it's like they never get to. I hate that shit. So the second season, of course, a lot of people have beef with it, but I liked it. I don't know if I was just so hooked to it at the time where I just thought it was a really fun, but I still look back and I still love the first season of Sword Art Online. I have the special edition to it on Blu-ray. It's great. Obviously the first half is stronger, and Aincrad ended way earlier than we'd like, but that's what I really like about the new Progressive series, is that it expands on what we want to see. But the new stuff is great too. Like, I don't want to get too much into it now because I do want to do it separately. But War of the Underworld is probably one of my favorite anime arcs ever. I love that arc a lot. But I was absolutely hooked. We did the same thing with season 2. I loved season 2 as well, but I was just glued to a screen. It was the first time I was really getting back in the anime, and I don't know if it just hit at the right time, like, for me, but I was just absolutely hooked. And then A1 did such a great job of, like, bringing the the bringing everything together. Like, the animation was beautiful. I fell in love with the animation. It was like watching like some fantasy. I mean, it's kind of like an isekai a little bit, because it's just, if you think about it, I mean, it might as well. You have all these fantasy elements that exist within Aincrad, and that basically is reality to them. So all these crazy creatures and like the different NPCs, like the elves and like all these the dwarves, like all these different types of races might as well exist, because and monsters, because it's just like, to them, if they die for, you know, it's such a good premise, because like the whole premise, it sounds simplistic. It's one of those things that if you think about it for too long, sure, like it's like you can find some problems with it, but that's dumb. Like, it's just like the premise itself is fun. Like, oh, like you're trapped in like a giant MMO, and like if you die for real. It's cool. It's fun. It's really fun. It's a solid premise. A1 did a great job with the animation. It was beautiful, like seeing all the different floors in Aincrad and the variation you had between, whether it be the ice floor biome that Liz and Kirito go to get the dragon shit, whether it's watching Ilfang the meme lord get absolutely boofed, that goofy ass boss. Sword Online Aria of Starless Night makes us make sure that we never forget Ilfang as a joke. Goofy ass. The antagonists were great. I thought Heathcliff was a really cool antagonist, but the main one, the biggest one of like one of the main reasons I love Sword Art Online, I love the idea of Laughing Coffin, a murder guild just roaming around and just killing people. I thought that they were kind of they get expanded on a little bit more in season 2, more so even with Sword Art Online, the progressive series, and you get Poe, of course, and I really like Visago. I thought Visago was actually a really cool character. He's just an evil, absolute bastard in the third season. But I love that idea of like a murder guild just going around Sword Art Online knowing they're killing people, and progressive kind of goes into a little bit of the cool, like shady shit that they did. Like, they would never send each other messages. They do like these little notepad things they drop that you see in Scared of Deep Night. Love the idea of it. You had a great supporting cast of characters. I really like Klein. I love Klein a lot. I wish Klein got more screen time. Aegil is absolutely great. Aegil's an absolute bro. Leafa later, but Silica and Lisbeth are fun. More so Lisbeth. I wish she got a little bit more screen time too. I thought Lisbeth was a cool character. I like the idea. I wish they had focused more a little bit on like her as a blacksmith, and her probably helping Kirito and Austin out, because it's explained again. But we'll probably see that in more so in progressive. But it had a great supporting cast. But the main part, it's in my opinion, what drives the series forward is Kirito and Asuna, the relationship that they have, the fact they got together earlier. It didn't pull that will they, won't they bullshit that you see in so many series. And I don't just mean anime. I just mean it's such a trope in series that like they pull that will they, won't they bullshit, but they don't get together towards the end. I really like that they solidified that early and got out of the way. And so there's nothing against harem or anything like that. There's one day I will go over DxD. DxD is great. But there's a couple of other harem shows but it's just like it. I like that it solidifies the romance between those two characters early. And it's like, it's not kind of like what you for bigger shonen ones like Fairy Tail or Black Clover. And it's like I like both of those, but it's just like it's like Fairy Tail, they never really ended up doing it, connecting them in the end, but some of them anyways. And then Black Clover, you don't really expect it till the end too, and that's kind of how like the main ones kind of go. The shonen series, it's like the pairings never really get solidified till the end. So I thought it was really cool that Kirito and Asuna got together early on. But the dynamic works really well with Kirito and Asuna. Like all the episodes that are together were really fun, from the first time that they met on floor 1 in the boss raid to. It was really fun again, the Illusionary Avenger. There's some stuff from the light novel that they cut out that I really like. Specifically from the Illusionary Avenger when they're doing that quest. There's Asuna tries to flex on Kirito. Like she wears this cute outfit and then gets mad. Kirito takes forever to actually compliment her. They cut out that bit. And there's a really cool scene that I hate that they cut out. I hate they cut out the Asuna part too, but there's a really cool scene where Asuna, Heathcliff, and Kirito go to this super back alley restaurant where the NPC takes 10 years to get the meal ready, and even Heathcliff, motherfucker made the game, is why does this place even exist? Because like the NPC takes like forever to make the meals, but they like discuss like the possibilities of how the like the murder could have taken place, and like there's a big hint in there that like, oh yeah, like Kirito like brings up like, oh, like how do we know it couldn't happen in the safe zone, or like how it isn't fair, and like Heathcliff just without even second guessing, without even a second's hesitation, is like, no, that can't happen, and it's like that serves as a big red flag to him that we don't in the light novels that we don't get to see in the main series, and it's just a cool little kind of conversation to watch those three have it. I really like that scene too. It goes into a little bit more detail in the light novels too about some of the areas, like the Colosseum where Kirito and Heathcliff end up finding each other is like this city of steel, and it kind of goes into more detail about how kind of cool it looks. But the series itself in the first half just does such a great job about setting the world, like setting the characters, and kind of making you fall in love with the series itself. If I had to choose my favorite episode will always be Crimson Killing Intent. I love that episode. I'm a sucker for pairings, and I always admit that straight up. So I was hoping for it to happen. I mean, the episode where Kirito where he solos Gleam Eyes will always be an absolute classic. Completely badass moment where you see him. He's got the dual swords, and he beats Gleam Eyes in front of the army and Austin and Klein. Great moment, but Crimson Killing Intent is always my favorite episode. It's so good where like you find out that I forget his name, the shady looking creep dude ends up trying to kill them when Kirito has to join the guild and he's going on training, and Austin comes in and save him. They finally confess. It's gold. It's gold. And at the end, it always gets me to the part where the low-key 16.5 happens, and it's more like the aftermath. The part where where he recommends like going to the cabin, like, and you see her face, and when he offers to get married, it's classic. It's heartwarming, and that's wholesome shit is what I'm about here. So it serves, but it does such a great job. And then the criticisms of early Aincrad, like of the first seasons, like I share. It's like we all wanted to see more Aincrad. They did obviously go through the floors faster than we'd like to see. And I get that ALO was a kind of disappointment to a lot of people. I liked it. Obviously, I didn't like it as much as season 1. I like Leafa as a character. I like Suga. I thought she's a fun character. She's a good character. But I can kind of see where people's beef comes into it about it turning into kind of a harem anime. Again, I like her as a character, but it's just like those aspects. It's just like, okay, like it didn't bother me so much, but I can understand people's gripes about it. But I understand, like, hey, I guess they got to sell those models somehow, I guess. So it's like, okay, I guess I get it. So long as it's never within doubt, like it never detracts from the main. It's like, okay, whatever. But I understand the criticisms of Asana's character too, but it's just like I understand the criticisms. Like, yeah, she gets relegated to a smaller role, and she gets relegated to a role that kind of where she comes off as weaker. And I can get that criticism, but it's just like what's she really supposed to do? It's like Sugu like pulled all those people in. It's like she can't really do much. I mean, she gets out and she kind of does shit on her own. Like when she kind of fakes her emotions a little bit and kind of gets the key card. And she drops it down, but it's just like she can't really do much. She's literally locked in occasionally being watched under all this crazy surveillance, so under watch and lock and key at all times. There's not much she can do, but it's like I can understand the criticism of her going from this badass leader and this strong character to kind of being relegated to a weak role. But I didn't mind it. It was kind of like a classic kind of hero's tale that you had in ALO where Kirito goes, beats the boss, kills the antagonist, gets the girl, but the second half, I can understand certain criticisms. I loved the idea of the world of ALO, of all the different factions and the way that it was animated. It was really beautiful. It's like it's like a game that you would want to play. That's what I really liked. The second half, I didn't love it. Obviously, I didn't like it as much as the first half, but I think it was fun enough to where it's like I didn't hate it, and I still really enjoyed watching it. But the one moment that it will always be worth it for me for was when they finally get together at the end. That scene where especially for those of you who read Sword Art Online Progressive, like, that moment hits a lot harder when you realize, like, all the shit that they've been through and done to finally get to see each other. That moment when he finally goes to her hospital room and she finally comes back, and they can finally be together again. Man, that always hits me. And it's such a great moment, and it's like I always love and I always like that. The second half of season 1 is just worth it for that alone for me. Sugo, I thought Sugo was a good antagonist for. It's like he's an absolute creep, super rapey, but it's just like that makes it more. It makes it more worthwhile when he gets his comeuppance when they turn the paint and he turns his paint absorber up to 11 and Kirito basically screws up his eye and beats the shit out of him. Basically, it's more of he works. You're supposed to hate a villain like him. It's not supposed to have any empathy toward him. So I think it works. People kind of get mad about the creep, but I don't. It's just like he's supposed to be an evil, creepy bastard, and he works for being an evil, creepy bastard, and he gets what he deserves. So I never really minded that too much. Overall, this first season of Sword Art Online, I can never hate it. I've noticed that a lot of people look back and do the whole, they look back in retrospective shit. I really don't like that. I don't. It's like I get that it's like, oh, you may have found like it's in Sword Art Online the first season. It's not the best written anime. It's like you're gonna find anime that are they're better written. It's like my favorite anime of all time is Hunter x Hunter. Hunter x Hunter has absolutely stellar writing, has an absolutely great world building. It's like there are other series you're gonna find that you're gonna like better for writing, for characters, premise, no matter what it is. But for people to go back and just hate and I'm not saying for people who don't like Sword Art Online. That's not what I'm really saying here. I'm saying for people who got into anime because of Sword Art Online, they loved it at the time, and then because they saw some video about someone just dogging on it and hating it, and they're gonna go back and hate it now. Like, oh yeah, that's cringe. Like, it's just like, dude, don't hate your gateway. It's like a lot of people's kind of gateway is Dragon Ball Z. And I absolutely love Dragon Ball Z. I would never say a bad thing about Dragon Ball Z. It's like I know that Dragon Ball Z has glaring issues. Like if you go back and compare it to like something like a Hunter x Hunter or something like think of any insert like whatever your favorite anime is. But it's like you can't go back and hate the thing that got you into it. It's like I went back and rewatched Dragon Ball Z a couple years ago. I went on Blu-ray. Great, still really fun. It's more so about the fights than it is the characters. And I'm someone who I like the characters in the world so much than I do. The fights are great, obviously, but I like anime that kind of focuses more on the characters in the world, more so than like stuff like fights. But it was Dragon Ball Z is like that, but that's fine. But it's the idea of like, I don't know, like you can't hate your gateway. Like Sword Art Online, again, you may have found like certain anime that you like, certain anime that may have impacted you in a different way, may have better writing, better characters, but at the same time, you can't look back at the thing that made you fall in love with the medium, that got you into it, and I never can. And again, the first season of Sword Art Online, I still think it's really entertaining. I don't think it's the best season of Sword Art Online. I honestly think that World of the Underworld and Alicization was honestly a solid arc. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to talk about that one because I think World of the Underworld specifically was such a great arc. It had so much going for it, and I thought it ended great too. I loved it. But I feel like a lot of people probably fell off, and I'm guilty of this. I fell off at the first half of season 3, part 1, just because it's a slow burn. Like it's a really slow burn, before it gets to the stuff you kind of want to see. But it's still great. But I'll talk more about that when I make my video on the Underworld and Alicization arc, which is solid. I'll do my next one probably on season 2, but I just want to go over like you gotta respect your gateway, what got you into it. And it's like I always love Sword Art Online. It's still fun for me to go back and watch. I'm someone who it got me into it, and then I went on to watch a bunch. I still watch a bunch of other different series. There are series that I like more, but it's just like it's still fun to keep up with. I highly recommend anyone if you really like the first season of Sword Art Online, you still keep up with it. I would highly recommend not just the light novels themselves, but I'd also highly recommend the progressive novels because they kind of expand on Aincrad and why we fell in love with Aincrad, specifically with Asuna and Kirito, and it makes Asuna. Has always been one of my favorite character in the series, but Progressive fleshes her out so much and makes her an even better and like a stronger character, especially her arc that she goes through in the film and like from the novel. But Aria of a Starless Night gives her such a great arc, and her arc is continuing to get better. Where she starts out in Sword Art Online and where how much she ends up developing as a person, becomes this really confident badass leader, and kind of how Kirito and Asuna kind of save each other because they're both fucked up people. Like when they meet each other, in a way, they have their own problems, and that's why I like Progressive so much. It delves into a lot of the issues that people were going through, like when the game first started. But anyways, it's I'm rambling a little bit too much here. The first season of Sword Art Online is really fun. It's entertaining. If you're someone that wants to watch something where you play MMOs, like you really want to watch, I would say give it a try. The first season of Sword Art Online, I think it's really entertaining. I think the first arc is better than the first half is obviously better than the second, but I think the second half there are good moments to be found there. I would still highly recommend it. I understand some of the criticisms for it, and I can completely agree with it. Heathcliff probably could have been better fleshed out, like in the first. He gets more fleshed out in seasons 2 and 3, and in the light novels following those, he gets more fleshed out as a character. I wish that he got more screen time as an antagonist. I think he's a solid antagonist. The idea of him, like I think he works as an antagonist in the series, like in season 1 and in the first couple of light novels, but I think he could have been fleshed out better. And he kind of does a little bit later. I think he's someone who's always kind of in that presence that's always in the background in Sword Art Online. And then they've done a really good job of fleshing him out over time. But Heathcliff could have been done a little bit better. We could have seen more of Aincrad. I wish we'd gotten to see more of Kirito and Asuna. A little bit more of the side characters like Lisbeth and Klein and Aegil. But for what it is, I'll always love the first season of Sword Art Online. Certain moments that never get old, like when I saw Aria of a Starless Night. I mean, half of it's basically a retelling of the second episode, but it never gets old. That first time Kirito and Asuna meet each other, that them going to fight Ilfane, the Meme Lord, and just watching him get his ass kicked for the however many time, it'll never get old. And I still love this series, and it's something that I would always highly recommend to people. But that's all I got. It's a solid series, and I think it worked. I think it doesn't deserve all the hate that it's gotten over the years. And I understand the criticisms for it, but I think it's still a really good series, especially in the newer arcs, and especially with Progressive. I think it's a series that doesn't deserve as much hate as it gets. Well, let me know, y'all, and let me know, was Sword Art Online y'all's first gateway as well, or was it like Naruto, Bleach? Let me know in the comments below, and what your kind of thoughts on Sword Art Online the first season, what your criticisms, and what you kind of think it could have been done a little bit better. I'll always stand by it as a really good gateway, but it is what it is. Its reputation has kind of gone down in a couple years, but I hate to see it, but it'd be like that sometimes. All right, y'all. My next one, I'm probably going to work on doing the second season of Sword Art Online. I think it's the weaker one, but I mean, I'm excited to go over Gun Gale, though. But I'll probably upload that in a couple weeks. I'm really excited to talk about, after Season 2, I'm excited to talk about the Alicization stuff. All right, guys, let me know what y'all thought in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one.